Let's talk about this. So failed network television network CNN. You know that network, right? Which I don't know if you know about CNN. It used to be a channel that people watched in their homes, but is now only found on televisions at airports and hot dog stands. They have a brand new team member. So congratulations. We have a brand new team member. Buckle your seatbelts for this one. I can tell you who this is. See if you can guess who this is. Just watch how giddy and excited this CNN news anchor is to announce their brand new partner. Not going to give it away, but she literally jumps out of her seat to welcome their brand new warmonger partner. Watch.
Out front now, former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. I am pleased to welcome him to CNN. He's appearing tonight for the first time in his new role, which is Senior Political Commentator. And Congressman, we really are thrilled to have you on board. So welcome. Welcome. People have seen you over the past, of course, couple of years at the January 6th committee, and we're so glad to have you on board. So
it's great to be on the team, by the way. Thank you. I'm excited.
All right. So here you are tonight, not about to go to the House floor for the first time in 10 years.
So
you wouldn't be obligated to do that.
She's just so giddy, just so happy.
She's being welcoming in the workplace. I mean, that's the shtick. You have to act like that.
Do you?
You know how.
If you're in the corporate media, you have to act like that. If you're
Clayton, you on Fox have interviewed people who literally were responsible for other people's deaths. Like, you know the business. You can't be like, you've made decisions that killed people. And that's just how it goes. Like, that's how we, that we both have sat in the makeup chair next to these people.
I've interviewed people, but I again, welcoming a colleague who literally was calling for World War III. I'm just pointing out the welcome committee.
But that's the weirdness of the business, right? Like, we don't have to do that anymore.
That's why we're not there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, anyway, I never had anything like that. I definitely never had any experience like what she just had, to be clear. Remember, Kinzinger is one of the great peddlers of fake news on Congress. So it's appropriate that he would join CNN. Remember when spreading the fake story about the fake Ukrainian fighter pilot shooting down all those Russian jets, called the Ghost of Kiev? Remember that? So this tweet is still available. I mean, it's still up, baby. You can still hasn't fixed this, hasn't apologized for it, hasn't corrected the record, doesn't care. To the Ghost of Kiev, we raise a glass. Here's to even more. Keep shooting down those Russians. Totally a fake story. Totally debunked. Yes, that was fake. Just like the phony Russiagate story. But that didn't stop him. Here he is tweeting about that. Unacceptable to the New York Times pushing this fake story. Russia fingerprints are on thousands of fake Facebook and Twitter accounts that posted anti-Clinton messages. Oh, really? Are they?
Go back to just yesterday's show. We talked all about that.
He says, unacceptable. We must counter Russian propaganda and disinformation and utilize the tools we have to prevent further attacks on our democracy. Caitlin Johnstone has a good take on all of this over the past 24 hours. Here's what she says about Kinzinger. Nobody in Congress lobbied as aggressively to start World War III as Adam Kinzinger did last year. He tried to advance a bill authorizing hot war against Russia if Moscow crossed specific red lines in Ukraine, but couldn't get co-sponsors because even his fellow congressional hawks thought it was too insane. He was the loudest voice in the U.S. government, publicly advocating a no-fly zone over Ukraine. In the early weeks of the war, an idea that was slammed by the mass media as it would necessarily have entailed the U.S. military shooting down Russian warplanes and aggressively tempted nuclear war. The very first day on the job at CNN, he defended fellow neoconservative Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw, who is a supporter of Kevin McCarthy, yesterday blasted any Republican, by the way, and called them terrorists who would oppose the vote for Kevin McCarthy. He then even called them terrorists first. So, I guess Matt Gaetz is a terrorist, according to Dan Crenshaw, and so is anyone who voted against McCarthy. Then he later even came out and called them narcissists in this interview. Watch.
This handful of members is very clearly looking for notoriety over principle. That's what it is. And anyone who suggests differently is in some kind of make-believe fantasy reality. It's not true. They lost those debates. That should have been the end of it, because that's how a team works, right? You hash this stuff out, you figure it out, and then you move on. But if you're a narcissist, If you're a narcissist and you believe that your opinion is so much more important than everyone else's, then you'll keep going. And you'll threaten to tear down the team for the benefit of the Democrats.
So you're a narcissist and you're a terrorist if you
That's
don't
rich
support
coming
him.
from him.
Right, I know. So that's unbelievable. That's the kind of rhetoric. But anyway, Adam Kinzinger came right to his defense yesterday. Like, this is like his first day on CNN. He comes right to his defense. The world can now see what we had to deal with for years, he writes to Matt Laszlo, who put these effing people. Representative Dan Crenshaw of Texas tells me after leaving the House floor, they're just being clowns. See, the world can see what we had to deal with for years. You mean people like, I don't know what your opinion is of Matt Gaetz or Lauren Boebert or anybody, but he's called for the end of the war in Ukraine. He's called for the end of sending $50 billion or $100 billion into an empty black hole in Ukraine. So that's a start. He's called for a balanced budget. Imagine that. And he's also called to secure the border. So he's a terrorist? Okay. Anyway, this is who we had to deal with for years, Adam Kinzinger. So CNN, the Illinois Republican, has served in the House since 2011. Adam Kinzinger did, and operated mostly under the radar until about 2021, when he suddenly became very outspoken against Donald Trump, anti-Trump. Became a very publicly anti-Trump Republican. He served as one of the only 2 Republicans on the House Select Committee on January 6th. And further increased his public prominence, becoming more active on social media. Then he went out announcing he was part. He even said he was part of like the deep state Ukrainian fellas. He even famously pushed for a U.S. escalation with Russia, and is pretty okay with using nuclear weapons. That's Adam Kinzinger that CNN just hired. Recently, he started heating up his anti-Trump Republican talking points, appearing on CNN just a few days before it was official that he signed with them. And he said that the party will become a hotbed of extremists under President Trump if he is reelected, and the party takes leadership with him again. So here he is on New Year's Day on CNN. Watch unbiased news anchor Dana Bash calling him patriotic for his work on the January 6th committee. And he explains why his opinion that Trump should go to jail. So watch Dana Bash. Like, he's not even a colleague yet, and she's already very effusive. Watch.
Result of that patriotic service, they both are now leaving Congress. Joining me now is
wait. Can you pause that for a second?
Of Illinois.
She's not leaving Congress. She was voted out. Right. Liz Cheney.
I know.
She says that because of this brave break with the Republican Party over January 6th, they're both leaving Congress.
Yeah.
She lost her election.
Right. She was kicked out. But to Dana Bash, that's why I joked and said unbiased, she's patriotic. So she was doing her patriotic duty.
That's such shit.
That's CNN. So continue. So
please continue, you sons of bitches.
Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Let's start with the work that you've been doing over the past almost 2 years, the January 6th committee. It's over, and it's now in the hands of the Justice Department. Do you think that President Trump ultimately will be charged for crimes?
Look, when I got into this, when we started this process, I didn't know, I'm not a lawyer, not a Justice Department guy, didn't necessarily know, is he guilty of a crime or not? Obviously, what he did from a presidential perspective, from an oath perspective, is a problem. As we've gotten into this, I look and I'm like, if this is not a crime, I don't know what is. If a president can incite an insurrection and not be held accountable, then really there's no limit to what a president can do or can't do. And so, I do think ultimately when we get to where we're going to go, I think the Justice Department will do the right thing. I think he will be charged. And I frankly think he should be. Everything we've uncovered from what he did with the Justice Department to everything leading up to January 6th to on January 6th, sitting there for 180 minutes and watching this occur in the hope that maybe, just maybe, that last attempt to stay in power will work.
So he should be charged and convicted.
That's my personal opinion.
So that's your new senior political commentator at CNN.
So they're looking for the brave break with the party Republicans. They got their guy.
I don't know.
sorry, but watching him speak, the way he talks, like his mannerisms. You remember the guy from Something About Mary with the 7-minute abs? No, it's 7-minute abs, not 8 minutes. You know, like he just, it's like his mannerism. I was just like, who does that remind me of? And I was racking my brains, like, oh my God, it's the 7-minute abs guy. But anyway, sorry about that. That's irrelevant.
I'm gonna have to look him up.
It's good to know, though. You'll have a senior political commentator going into the next election who will be unbiased in his coverage of, President Trump running for office as a senior political commentator.
Yes, they showed themselves so unbiased by saying that Liz Cheney left her job.
I'm so glad to have you here in our studio, Adam. Thank you so much. You are very patriotic and very brave. So CNN just announced they will no longer lean to the left. This was a big announcement by their, what is his name? Chris Licht, their new head of CNN. They're no longer going to lean to the left. They won't lean to the right. They're going to be unbiased. The unbiased news source that you trust.
2 Republicans, and that's going to make them balanced.
We're going to bring in a Republican who hates Trump, which is like the entire network. So here we go. But of course, January.
What they did is they have everybody to the left, and then they brought in one guy that's so far right that it just balances it all out.
Oh, okay.
They couldn't bring a guy that was just right leaning. They had to bring so far right,
a neocon.
Trump.
Yeah,
a neocon that hates Trump to just balance it out.
Because that's their whole network, though, as it is. Neocons that hate Trump. Like that's the neocons they have on their air now are there to promote war, to push for World War III, the members of the deep state, but they hate Trump.
Yeah.
The deep state hates Trump. That's why he was pushed out, right? So January 6th was so personal for Adam Kinzinger, for all those Capitol Police that died that day defending the Capitol. You remember all of those Capitol Police that died that day. Side note, no Capitol Police died that day. He could barely contain himself, ignoring key parts of the January 6th rally, like the FBI agent Ray Epps, who still has not been arrested or even questioned by the January 6th committee. But he's super upset that our nation is under siege by Trump supporters. Watch.
Long he chooses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues on the committee. Thank you to our witnesses. I never expected today to be quite as emotional for me as it has been. I've talked to a number of you and gotten to know you. I think it's important to tell you right now, though. You guys may, individually feel a little broken. You guys all talk about the effects you have to deal with, and, you talk about the impact of that day. But you guys won. You guys held. Democracies are not defined by our bad days. We're defined by how we come back from bad days. How we take accountability for that. And for all the overheated rhetoric surrounding this committee, our mission is very simple. It's to find the truth, and it's to ensure accountability.
So why do you?
Was he in the same area as AOC? Could you imagine them two having a conversation about that day?
Yeah,
we're crying back and
awful.
forth.
We were on the same day. So if it's all about truth and accountability, then why are key parts of this story not being told to the committee? Why are the interviews being kept away? Why are key witness testimonies being suppressed? So you're all about the truth, and you're crying about these guys, and you're full of crap. So I don't know. I just find it hilarious.
I did a couple local exclusives where I covered the first 2 of those meetings or hearings. And by the third one, I just was done because there was it was completely biased. They didn't show any of the counter evidence, nothing. They would not bring in a single person that had any counter evidence of anything. And so I was just like, this is just a Democrat show to, get their base fired up to get, something to do with Trump.
No,
there was nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. It was like Lifetime television, highly produced, to evoke emotions.
Yeah, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I'm not doing the next one.
So you'll be able to tune in for all of your political commentary with CNN's Adam Kinzinger. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the chat below. Let us know your thoughts. Will you be tuning in to CNN?
I'm more excited about the after show CNN Plus show he's going to probably get.
I was thinking about because CNN Plus collapsed within a month, and disaster. I was thinking about Chris Wallace the other day. He was my former colleague at Fox News. And like he said, gave the big FU to Fox News and left, and then went over to CNN Plus, like he was going to ride off into the sunset with some big new career at CNN Plus, and like whatever happened with that?
I don't know.
Fizzled out, collapsed.
Maybe he's got excessive relaxation.
I have excessive. The only problem CNN Plus had is they didn't have the Republicans over there yet to keep it balanced. So they people were still seeing it as a far left platform, so they wouldn't get on board. They tried getting Chris. Now, if they would have had Adam and a couple other Republicans, it probably would have survived.
Yeah, but Chris Wallace was not necessarily a far right Republican. No, he was more centrist. He was actually
one of the only people on Fox I could watch.
Yeah.
He's more of a Democrat, actually. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at Redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to Redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.